I have used an Apple Watch for the last 5 years. In fact, the Apple Watch Ultra 3 has been a part of my fitness journey in 2026 from the start of the year. And with the help of this Apple Watch Ultra specifically, I've managed to lose about 14 kilos and build some muscle too. Having said that, I still experimented with the Fitbit Air. And you know what I found out? That I actually do not need smartwatches anymore. I'm not going to throw this, it might break. Now, I'll explain my journey in this video, of course, so stay tuned with me till the end. If you're watching me for the first time, hi, I'm Ashad. You're watching Trakin English, your destination for detailed, incisive, wearable reviews. So I wanted to try the Fitbit Air not as a Whoop killer because everybody's done it, and I have the same problem that you guys have as well. My dad is Bambani, not Ambani. And why would I pay 27,000 rupees every year for an annual subscription when I can buy a Seiko 5 every year instead? By the way, I'm getting into automatic watches as well, and that's making this Fitbit Air even more relevant. What I wanted to test was a different idea. How will a screenless fitness tracker work for somebody who uses the smartwatch only for tracking workouts? Because yes, I'm one of those people who uses the Apple Watch only for tracking workouts, steps, and heart rates. That's it, nothing else. Yeah, so notifications are completely off because I really do not want yet another distraction of a screen. I have my phone and my laptop, that's enough. So if that's your use case as well, why would you want to wear a big glowing computer on your wrist just for tracking your heart rate? And that's why, again, the Fitbit Air just makes a whole lot of sense. Now, let me be clear, I'm not going to do a very technically accurate review for you. For that, I would suggest you go and watch DC Rainmaker. What I'll tell you is a personal use case, something that you might probably relate with. So the biggest win, of course, for the Fitbit Air has to be the comfort. It's thin, it's extremely light, and almost invisible. And you know what? I'm wearing the one with the performance loop, and it's in obsidian color. You get multiple colors as well. And the puck sits inside the strap. After a while, I completely forgot that it actually exists on my wrist. It disappears. See, the Apple Watch Ultra, of course, it's more premium in comparison, but it's big, bold, and extremely heavy, and that matters for sleep tracking. You know, I would rarely ever use it for sleep tracking because I wouldn't want to wear this, hulking behemoth to the bed. And with the Fitbit Air, that completely changed because that was the whole point, right? Because with the Fitbit Air, I wanted to track sleep and I could do that comfortably throughout the night. Now, since the Fitbit Air doesn't have a display, it actually uses vibration alerts for an alarm, which is actually very nice because it's very subtle and you can change the vibration intensity too. So none of that loud iPhone ringtone waking me up in the morning anymore. Now, the question is the sleep tracking perfect? Well, definitely not. I would say it's above average. Most of the time, broadly, it would get the sleep tracking right, but sometimes it would get it wrong. For example, the Fitbit Air shows that I woke up at 5:44 in the morning, but I actually woke up at 6:30. So I'm definitely not going to consider the sleep tracking as the gospel truth, and you should not either. But it's definitely better than not wearing something on the wrist and wearing something and tracking something for broad insights anyway. Now, if I have to give you a more practical perspective, the best wearable is not the one that accurately tracks your sleep for you, but the one that you can wear comfortably throughout the night. Another huge advantage for the Fitbit Air has to be the battery life. So I received the Fitbit Air on June 14th, which is a Sunday, and I took it out of charge at about 12:30 p.m. It was 100% charged. And at the time of writing this script on June 23rd at about 7:30 in the morning, I still have 10% battery left. That's nearly 9 days of battery life, 2 more than what Google promises. And coming from an Apple Watch Ultra, which still has good battery life for a smartwatch at 2 days, I still think that the Fitbit Air was a breath of fresh air for me. Now, to charge this, you need to put it on the puck. And there it is not perfect, especially if you've used the Whoop. Because with the Whoop, you get a wireless charging puck and you can keep using it 24/7. And that's where the Fitbit Air's purpose is slightly defeated because it doesn't become a 24/7 tracker. Because when you're charging it, you have to take it out of the loop and put it on the puck. I hope that Google or some third-party manufacturer can quickly make a wireless charging puck. I'd be the first customer for it. Now, the lack of the display on the Fitbit Air is possibly the best thing and the worst thing about it. Most of the time I loved it. No screen, no notification, no tiny computer asking for my attention. But you know what? In the gym, I sort of missed the Apple Watch Ultra because I have this habit of glancing at the Apple Watch Ultra screen to take a look at the heart rate when I'm working out and in between sets. I cannot do that on the Fitbit Air because it doesn't have that screen. And just because the Apple Watch Ultra has a screen, the automatic tracking also feels far more convenient. Because with the Fitbit Air, I have to always rely on my phone whenever I'm tracking a workout. With the Apple Watch Ultra, it's a standalone device because I can just start the workout from here itself and I'm good to go. So essentially, the Fitbit Air is not as standalone a device as the Apple Watch Ultra or any other smartwatch for that matter. And once the workout was done, I did compare the workout data from both the devices and the heart rate fluctuations during the workout itself, and the final average heart rate is very similar to what the Apple Watch Ultra 3 managed to achieve. Again, let me clarify that this is not a lab test. This is my usage of the Apple Watch Ultra 3 compared to the Fitbit Air, so you can get a perspective. Now, talking about step tracking, I found it to be very good, honestly. It has an error rate of about 1 to 2%, which is largely similar for the Apple Watch Ultra 3 and most other smartwatches that I've tested as well. But there is one fundamental problem. If you move your wrists aggressively, it counts the steps. This shouldn't happen. This is a problem. Also, take a look at that readiness data from the Fitbit Air. It gives you an idea if your body is actually ready for workout. And from my personal experience and my personal understanding of the body itself, I feel like the Fitbit Air was right about the readiness score of my body. Now, this is what I specifically like about the Fitbit Air and screenless trackers in general. It's not just giving you a sleep score. It's not just counting your steps. It's not just giving you your average heart rate during workouts or calories that you've burned, which obviously is off the mark most of the time. It actually tells you what that data means. I love that. Now let's talk about the part that surprised me the most, the Google Health app. I know a lot of long-time Fitbit users are upset about the shift to Google Health. I get it. People are attached to the apps, the dashboard, and the muscle memory they've built with the Fitbit app over the years. But for someone coming in fresh, the Google Health app is actually pretty good. I have no complaints. By the way, Google says that the Fitbit health and wellness data is not used for Google ads, but even then, you're still handing over your continuous biometric data. So if you really care about your privacy and that is something that bothers you, I would want you to check out the fine print before actually getting into one. But that's true for most fitness trackers anyway, except for maybe the Apple Watch. By the way, the basic tracking doesn't require premium subscription. So you can track your steps, you can track your heart rate, you can track your workout data, you can track your sleep, all of that is possible. The premium subscription actually adds an AI coach on top of that, which is the game changer for me. Now, I know AI coaches can sound gimmicky, but I don't think the Ask Coach is gimmicky at all. It's actually been pretty helpful. For example, on one occasion, I was walking indoors on the treadmill and by mistake, I selected the walk mode. Now, the walk mode actually calculates the outdoor walk and therefore the distance wasn't calculated properly. And I found out what I was doing wrong by asking Ask Coach. And it also gave me the option to manually edit the data, which is pretty useful. Now, see, that sounds simple, but that's the exact kind of thing that normal people want help with, right? They want an always available service assistant to troubleshoot stuff. What's wrong? Give me the answer. And it gives you. Now look at this here. It's telling me that my body is ready to move after the fast. Don't do any outdoor walk because it could rain in Pune and the battery is running out of charge. Like the moment you wake up in the morning, isn't that the exact kind of information that you need? That's what I need. Now Ask Coach also helps with goals and meal logging. Right now I'm trying to consume like less than 1800 calories but with over 100 grams of protein. So I, calculate that every day using the Google Health app. It's better than using a spreadsheet, right? I was using a spreadsheet before, then moved to ChatGPT. And now since Google Health Ask Coach is all integrated with the Fitbit Air, I use that instead. It's one solution for me. Now with the Apple Watch, you do get a lot of useful metrics, especially with the Ultra, but it doesn't tell you what to do. That's where I feel like the Fitbit Air's AI integration really works. That's just my perspective though. Now, of course, coming to the price. Globally, it's launched at $99. When it comes to India, I think it'll be somewhere between the 10 to 13,000 price range. And you can just buy it and use it directly for tracking everything, right? And if you want the premium subscription, it's 99 rupees a month, which is already available. And it's even cheaper if you buy it annually. In fact, I have the Google AI Pro subscription. So with that, I get the premium subscription free. So genuinely, I feel like Google has priced it absolutely right. This is possibly the best priced Google product in a long time. So where does that leave the Fitbit Air? See, I'm not saying that it is a better product than the Apple Watch Ultra. That would be stupid. So if you run outdoors, train with structured intervals, want maps, want live stats, and want to leave your phone behind, the Fitbit Air is not going to help you. The Apple Watch Ultra or any other smartwatch for that matter would be better. The Fitbit Air is a background health tracker. And that's exactly why I like it. It's specific at one thing. It gets out of the way. And for me, that matters as well because I don't want my fitness tracker to be my notification machine, to be my computer, to play games on it. Some smartwatches do that as well. I just want to track my health quietly with something as discreet as the Fitbit Air and wear a traditional analog watch with possibly a mechanical movement on my left wrist, which I seem to be loving nowadays. So yes, my friendship with the Apple Watch Ultra ends and my friendship with the Fitbit Air begins today. So what do you guys think of my perspective of the Fitbit Air and screenless fitness trackers in general? There are also, more affordable stuff like the Amazfit Helio, which is very difficult to find. I would love to know your thoughts. Just put them all down there. Let's have a discussion. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.